Before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Heard, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful. Oh my word. We've just opened a door into this big room with just the cutest little chicks in here. Just adorable. Hello and welcome to On Farm. This is Anna with you again for this episode, and today I am working in partnership with SOPA, the Scottish Organic Producers Association, and I've been on a fairly epic but amazing road trip in the sunshine. Today's episode was the first of 2 interviews that I recorded whilst away. I was on a visit to Laurencekirk in Aberdeenshire to meet a young guy who has recently traded in a career in oil and gas based in Dubai to come home to his family farm. The business is primarily based on organic gluten-free oats, but they're also building up an enterprise rearing chickens and ducks. So I've had a brilliant tour in the sunshine and really enjoyed chatting to Michael, so I hope you enjoy it too.
Hi, I'm Michael Medlock. I'm 39 years old and I have recently rejoined our farming family. Having been in the oil industry for a number of years, I've come back to the family farm where we've been farming organically for almost 40 years in the How of the Mearns, just outside Laurencekirk. Our main products that we produce are organic gluten-free oats and have recently started into producing organic chicken and duck. Our main business here is organic gluten-free oats. Why don't we start in the grain store?
Okay.
And then we can follow the process of the oats, and then we can follow the process of the chickens and the ducks, and then at the end I'll show you how we hope that they all interact and
a virtuous circle.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. And so tell me that I've got a few friends who are gluten-free.
Yeah.
So tell me about the oat gluten-free thing, because I know even I wasn't sure actually. I was buying oat milk and I thought, gosh, is oat milk gluten-free? And then you start to think about your porridge. What's
so the
going
oats
on
are
there?
gluten-free. Oats are gluten-free, but as most farmers have a kind of rotation system, so one year they'll grow wheat, one year they'll grow oats, potatoes, and I guess in the organic system then you have to put it back into grass or fertility building crop. So what happens with gluten is that you'll get contamination from rogue wheat, rogue barley being left in your field. They will come up and they will get cut along with your oats. And it took us maybe 3 years from saying we're going to try gluten-free to getting gluten-free results, like no detectable gluten within our system.
And at what point do you get rid of it then? During the growing season or after it's harvested?
So if wheat is in amongst your oats, there's nothing you can do. We'll never separate it. So, I mean, it could be even things like if you're using a contractor, his combine could be contaminated. So we have local farmers who grow for us who understand our requirements that they can't really be growing any wheat or barley on their farm. We give them a premium for that so that they don't get contamination. And I'd say for the last 8 years that we've had consistently. Every batch we've tested has never had any gluten results. So we're very confident with our product now. So,
And farming organically then, does that make it more challenging?
For growing oats, yes and no. I guess it would be just like farming any other cereal organically. You have your issues with weeds and we don't really have issues so much with insect damage or pesticides. So we're just standard farming organically. We're not doing anything crazy.
Yeah, and so maybe just before we talk about the circle that you spoke about of the organic oats, chickens, ducks, maybe let's just talk about your organic journey. Now, you mentioned you're in your 30s. Has the organic conversion taken place here in your lifetime, or is it something that your father had already established? What's the history of it?
So my father, I think we converted to being organic about 38 years ago, and I'm 39.
Yeah. Oh, right. So you probably weren't instrumental in doing that.
No. So we've been organic a long time. It's been a real itch that I've wanted to itch to come back and farm. I felt, my dad was getting to an age that we either needed to make a decision as I come back, or we stop and we sell the farm, because it can't just continue. And I feel that it'd be a massive opportunity lost if I said I'll do another 5 years in the oil industry and then come back, and Dad will be like, I'm done.
You
and
could
the farm,
have missed the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
so I'm here just now, giving it a go. Obviously, Dad is still here with me.
I met him when I arrived, so he seems to be still very active in the business.
Yes, he lives on the farm.
Although he didn't seem to want to be on the podcast.
It's a very different life. It's a very different, we lived in the Middle East and came back.
Goodness.
I guess you get a lot more family time, a lot better work-life balance. Just the paychecks maybe not as good.
Well, no, maybe not. But that's the thing. It's how do you want to spend your time, and what do you want to be doing, and where do you want to be doing it? And I think that's probably why many farmers carry on, because you can't get that lifestyle anywhere else. Yeah. So your dad, he must have been the one who was instrumental in organic conversion when you were a year old.
Yes.
Why was that? Has he ever explained to you why he wanted to do that and why he took that decision?
No, I think he's always had the mentality to try and be out of the crowd of farming conventionally.
Yes.
And he's always thought if we're different, there's a niche, there's potentially a premium. But organic farming has always been there. We bought a mill in Afford maybe 25 years ago, and so we were doing oats for human consumption, but prior to that our main business was oats for racehorses.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
So we would do a lot of oats down into Spillers, down into Newmarket, and that was our main business for a long time. And then what the horses didn't get, we were putting over to the mill, and the humans were getting.
I kind of like that. Often it's the poor animals who get the leftovers, but I kind of like that, how the racehorses were so important.
So they wanted the big
first.
plump oats, then everything else was sent to the mill for human consumption. So within these old buildings, we have a very complicated maze of systems so from the oats from the grain store go into here, and then they're screened and cleaned, bits of straw are taken out of them, weeds. We have some really nice equipment that's quite old but does a great job for us in here, and it sizes the oats for us as well, so it takes out all the really small oats. There's not a lot of goodness in those oats, so that we're not spending time from here hauling the oats, moving the oats, processing oats that are going to go to nothing.
Do you still put oats then into the horse market, or is that not something you do anymore?
No, so it's all
human consumption.
All human consumption. So.
And oats have had a bit of a resurgence in popularity over recent years,
yes,
haven't they? So
we've definitely seen that. We sell 98% of our oats as porridge oats in bulk to packers, who then pack it away into their own branded bags and stuff.
That could easily have been what I had for my breakfast this morning.
Yes, but they generally go down and they're labelled by the packer as Scottish organic gluten-free oats. So we've launched our own little brand called Honest Oats, where people can shop online and buy our oats directly from us, and we'll just post them out. We don't have a shop here. But
no. So it's effectively mail order oats.
Yes.
And then, So have you had to take on extra staff then to deal with?
No. So everything
packaging?
We've brought in and wanted to do, we've tried to not bring in. We've brought in one extra member of staff since doing chickens and oats. What I want to do is, beforehand we were very manual. The oats were getting touched or handled a lot of times, so we would load the oats into a lorry, we'd drive them over to here into this processing area, we would then process them, we would bag them again, send them to the mill, which over in Afford, where we still continue to kiln dry them, which I think it gives us a differentiator from everybody else. It lightly roasts the oats.
All right. Yeah.
The oats then come back here, and then they go into this plant here, where they're made into a porridge flake. So there's a lot of points in our process where we're touching, or we're moving the oat by hand, essentially. Not by hand, but with a forklift art. And so what we're trying to do is take these kind of points out of our process to be more efficient, so that guys can do other tasks, if that makes sense.
And I wonder, I've been to a lot of efficient farming enterprises, but the fact that you stepped away from farming and you were working in a different sector for a long time, do you think that gives you a different perspective when you come back?
Yeah, I think it definitely gives other aspects or viewpoints to come back on, even from financial forecasting, which we were all forced to do in our previous jobs, and to budgeting, to then looking at efficiencies, to bring in a bit more health and safety. I know farming's pretty bad on health and safety, and it was drilled into us.
We've done a few episodes about that.
In the oil industry, and putting guys through all their forklift training, their telehandler training.
We can see that in operation right now. So no stone unturned when it comes to making sure that health and safety is paramount.
I mean, we don't have the money that we can spend on the oil and gas we'd have on every safety feature to make, we don't insist the guys wear hard hats or gloves, but if we were doing a hazardous task, we would like to plan it now. We would like to just ensure that the process is done, the job is done safely, and they're not just rushing in, and something tragic happens. Touch wood, we've not had an accident here for years and years, but we don't want to be there.
No, exactly. So efficiency is important, and then that all helps with margin and profitability, which is kind of why, in theory, why everybody does what they do, to try and make a living from it. So and so being organic, I know it wasn't your decision to become organic, but is it still a key part of your long-term thinking and your business plan, both from a financial perspective and I suppose also from an ethos perspective?
I'd say, to answer your question, from my perspective, it would be more from an ethos perspective. I think nature's a big thing. I think we have to live with nature and we have to work with nature. And I think, for us, having a farm here of almost 40 years organic, we have amazing worm counts. Our soil smells healthy. We think we've got a really good. Our soils are healthy and hopefully sequestering a lot of carbon. We've not done any calculations into that, but I think farming going forward, whether it's organic or conventional, has to be looking down this route rather than just more chemicals, more fertilizers, just yield. But at the very end of it, it needs to pay, and we can't do it for nothing.
So we're heading inside now. It is very noisy, and there are lots of pallets with white packets of oats going all over the place. This one's going to West Sussex, and here is the processing facility.
This is the end of the line for the oats, essentially. And as I said earlier, we pack them and sell them in bulk.
And what's this lady doing here? There's a lady here with what looks like a hoover.
It is. So sometimes we have issues with husks. We try and get all the husks out, but the little needle that your opponent complained about, there's something in my porridge. It's kind of our final quality control that we have. She doesn't stand here all the time, but it is if we.
I think you'd get dizzy if you stood here all the time.
She's very good at it.
This is the final part of the quality control.
Essentially, from the oats going in that side to coming out there, we don't touch them again. If that makes sense.
So that's part of the efficiencies.
So
the oats are your main enterprise. Human consumption, and then you've got your honest oats, which is the direct to consumer.
And I would
brand.
say, 95% of them are going into 90% into England, 10% into Europe. And Brexit's had a real problem with us. We were shipping to Barcelona on a regular basis. It was maybe costing us £120 to move a pallet from here to Barcelona. After Brexit, it's now £500, and we're just not competitive anyway.
No. And have you found alternative markets then to take that product?
We still manage to ship a little to Barcelona. They're still taking it. They recognise the quality, and they're packing it, and it's going into Carrefour in Europe. And we have another customer in Dublin who takes quite a lot, again packing it and putting it back into Europe through Dublin. So we used to do a lot to Holland, but again Brexit's we're just, margin. It's essentially a commodity, and people are wanting it at a price, and we can't not.
And I suppose everybody has their limit, don't they, price-wise, no matter how much they love the product. And so the Honest Oats direct to consumer, has that been in response then to some of these Brexit challenges?
No, Honest Oats was derived in that, as I said, we send most of our oats to be packed into brands, and I just thought, well, they're marking it up by 3 times. Why can't we just get a little bit of that? And we're not competing with them. We're not setting it up in shops. We're not doing it wholesale. It's just purely online. And we have occasion that we have some shops locally to Aberdeen that will take it. But apart from that, we're not.
And how has demand been? You mentioned earlier that we're all facing higher food prices. Some people are making tough decisions.
Yeah.
But the people who have a passion for local, organic, everything, the whole story behind that, are still supporting you, are they?
Yeah, I would say for the Honest Oats, it's been a learning in how to do websites and a little bit of logistics, and having to go into social media marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah, selling direct to consumers is very different, isn't it?
Yeah, so I would say we actually sell a lot to Wales, which is a weird demographic that we sell, but mostly again down to England, and still some into Scotland, and a little locally, but I guess we're just UK wide.
And so have you been mastering all of the marketing and the social media yourself?
Yeah, and I hate it. I can never think, everybody's like, I'll just take a picture of a field of oats and that'll do. That's what people want to see, but it's really boring for me. I was like, that's not even interesting. It's like a field of grass.
It is interesting for consumers,
but
I understand why it's
I'm lucky
challenging.
if I do a social media post once a month. That's pretty bad.
Well, hopefully this podcast will raise a little bit of awareness.
So,
anyway,
this is the oats' final journey. So, from the white dehulling machine, we blow the husks through here.
Right. I love this. There's a tractor here used as part of the process, and it's about as white as the oats because it's covered in all the dust.
So we mix it.
Yeah.
And we make it into oat feed pellets.
Aha.
We have very little waste. Well, we have no waste off the oats.
Zero waste. Yeah.
We have to mix them with molasses to make them a bit sticky.
Yes.
And they get made in a very slow process, but we can leave this machine running and it just sits here and churns out.
I see. Yeah, pellets. You can see the pellets falling out into a big sack.
And so these are just locally supplied to sheep and cattle farmers.
Sheep and cattle, yeah.
So,
and do you deal with the logistics of delivering all that as well? Then?
Some local farmers, the farmer just over at St Cyrus, he comes over in his tractor and picks them up.
Okay, yes.
Otherwise, we can take them up to, Peterhead, etc. So
is it quite a unique product then?
No, there's a lot of people who would make feed pellets, but I think because it's our waste product that we're very price competitive. We don't want it building up, or we used to pay farmers to take this away back in the day before we installed this. So and
it's local, and so a lot of people are keen for that for many reasons.
And animals seem to do really well on it.
Good. So, amazing. So poultry then, chicken and ducks is the newest part of your enterprise. That's true to say.
That is true.
And tell me about how that all started, why you did it, what what you love about it, everything.
We used to do poultry, organic chickens, for two sisters who are the big poultry guys in the UK. They have the processing plant at Laurencekirk, and they, I want to say 5-6 years ago, they stopped doing organic poultry. So we used to do maybe 5,000 chickens a week for them.
Goodness. That's a lot. Sounds a lot to me. Not that I know a huge amount about poultry, but
it's very small scale compared
is it?
to people are shipping 250,000 birds at a go to them. So
But again, a strong niche for organic poultry.
So they were putting it into the supermarkets, and they just couldn't justify. They would have to stop their plant, wash it down to put the we saw it from their point. It just wasn't viable for them to do it. So they pulled the plug on Scottish Organic. So there was no Scottish Organic going into the major supermarkets from then on. Did that mean then, from a consumer's perspective, it was very difficult to find Scottish organic chicken? You could get British organic chicken. Okay, right. The supermarkets obviously had to accept, because they are the biggest chicken producer in Britain, and they say you can either have it or you don't have it, and and that's it. So we went up to a scale that we were doing, as I said, 5,000 birds a week, which requires a lot of infrastructure from an organic side, because they need to stay in arcs at minimum stocking densities with sufficient space. So we have a lot of surplus poultry equipment. So kind of roll on to today or to a year ago, I've been thinking about doing poultry for a long time. I think there's definitely a market for it in Scotland, in that we're held by one slaughterhouse in Cooper Angus. There's another farmer doing it outside Perth who does organic, and we kind of work together now. So we are very small scale, dipping our toe in the water to see if there is a market for it, and we will process up to about 200 birds a week.
Okay, right. Yeah, so different scale, but very considered and deliberate. Yeah.
Yes.
And how does it reach the consumer's table then?
We have a lot of local butchers come in, collect, and take it to the shops and sell it that way. We then have a few wholesalers come in and collect, to then put it into the restaurant trade. And we have a website where people can buy it direct from us as well, but again, very small scale. We don't encourage people to come to the farm. We'd rather people went to a neighbouring farm shop and bought them.
Well, if the farm shop infrastructure and the butchers are there, it makes sense.
Yes,
doesn't it?
so that's our preferred. It
adds more work for you to do here if you've got a shop. Yeah.
And I'm worried that it would put people off. I think people want to associate chicken as being either in the field or on their plate.
Yes.
And they don't want to know about the bits in between. Yes.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly.
We'll go into this shed, which are called the brooder sheds, where we take chicks in from day old.
Oh, right.
So we have
might have to smuggle one of those into my pocket.
So
my daughters would love me forever.
Take in chickens at a day old, and we take them in once a month.
Right.
And they come from England, up from England, because there's no hatcheries in. This corridor has 6 brooder sheds, and this used to be, when we were doing 5,000 chicks a week, this was 1 week's worth of chickens. But now...
I can't even begin to imagine the huge scale that you talked about earlier. 5,000 seems so many. Oh my word.
So these chickens are a lot slower growing than you would get on the supermarket shelf.
Yes.
These are Hubbard.
We've just opened a door into this big room with just the cutest little chicks in here. Just adorable.
So we keep them inside.
And it's lovely and cosy.
Yeah.
They've got so much space. Kind of a happy life, really, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the idea, is, we want the chicken to have as wholesome a life as possible. And I know they're inside just now, but they wouldn't survive outside. They don't have feathers. We need to keep them warm.
Yes.
The heating comes from a biomass system.
Oh, it's roasty toasty.
Yeah. So there is 400 chicks in here. Maybe it doesn't look like it.
No, it doesn't. They've got loads of space and food and water, and they just look as happy. And they're cheeping away happily. Amazing.
The ducklings is a different scale.
Ducklings. Oh, so just basically, bigger, just as cute.
They're exactly the same age.
Yeah.
They're probably twice the size, if not a bit more.
Yeah, they would be, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
They drink a lot of water.
Right,
They poop a lot.
And so how labour intensive is it then to look after these little guys?
So when they're in these brooder sheds, it's actually very simple. And this was one of the things we wanted to do when we set up our poultry system. We didn't want to make it labour intensive. We wanted it to be as easy as possible. Yeah. So the chicks are here. Somebody comes and checks. They get fed once a day. Somebody will come check on them twice more, just to make sure that there's no issues with any of them.
Fine.
We do once a month. We then load them up into a module, and we take them to their outside house, which we'll go and see next.
Oh,
we have a kind of continuous throughput of chicks being placed, chicks growing, chicks being processed. So these chickens will stay inside for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then they will go outside for the remainder of their life. Whereas on an industrial system, these chickens can start being thinned out at 27 days and taken away to the table to be killed.
Goodness.
So by the time our chicks are about that size, going outside, full-grown chickens are going away to be killed.
So tell me then about. And I know you're maybe you are, but you're not a qualified chef as far as I'm aware. But tell me about then how the slow growing and the organic and what you feed them, which we can talk about in a minute. How does that all contribute to what the consumer experiences on their plate?
Our chickens cook a lot quicker than a standard chicken. They are fattier, which is not expected with chicken because people assume chicken to be a lean meat. But these chickens are much more matured. We'll have them up to 110 days old, where they've grown at the pace that they should grow. They've eaten whatever they can forage, find, and the feed that we give them.
Yeah.
And they develop their own flavour. So some, when we're processing chickens, some will come through bright yellow, their breasts, as though it's been labelled a corn-fed chicken, as you see in a supermarket. Some are white, and some are blotchy, some are in between, and they're all just a bit different. The chicken, I think, tastes of much more of chicken than you would expect.
So organic chicken is tasty chicken.
Yeah, and I think you also have to think that when you're eating that chicken, it's not just been essentially a machine that's just been put in the ground, grown, killed, and on your plate. This chicken has lived a life. It's scratched. It's done what it naturally wants to do.
Yes, it does what my pet hens do all the time. Yeah.
That has to be, as well as it being tastier. I mean, it's subjective, but we hope that the consumer will be like, well, I feel I'm eating an ethically raised animal that, it's never suffered. It's seen the light of day.
You can see the evidence of the life that they lead. And so once they come out here, then, as you said, the chicks need to stay indoors for a while because of the weather, and they wouldn't be hardy enough. Then they come out here.
Yeah.
And is this where they spend the rest of their days then until it's time for them to go?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a beautiful life.
Yes. So we're walking into the duck field. These ducks are another 6 weeks older than the ducklings you saw in the shed.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Older.
Yeah, so that 6 weeks older. So in 6 weeks they grow from what we've just seen, which is
maybe
a few
inches, 4-5 inches tall.
Yeah. To now what looked like fully grown.
So not quite fully grown.
Right.
No.
To the untrained, I think.
Yeah. As a farmer, I want them as big as possible.
Of course. Yes.
Because we sell them by the kilo. So these guys, we will start thinning these guys out in about 3 weeks' time.
Okay.
What we found is we will fence them in to begin with for 4 days.
I see.
And they get a little paddock, and they know where their house is, and then after that we'll take the fence away, and they just they stay within.
Hefted like sheep.
Yeah, they just stay within their. So they have the availability to go anywhere. We've made a little rubbish pond for them.
Oh yeah. Pond's a pond. Yeah.
They quite like, and the dog likes. There is a burn just behind that little.
Oh yeah.
There, which they haven't discovered yet, thankfully. They're just
happy as Larry.
That one of my frustrations right now is that they seem to sunbathe a lot and not do a whole lot of eating and putting on weight. So in here we have this shed. We have 400 ducks.
Wow. Look like 400 in there. They've got loads of space, haven't they? Yeah. And they can just come and go.
Yeah.
So interesting. It's a beautiful day. More of them are inside than out. So they also like being in here.
On a rainy day, they're all out.
Or out. Yeah. Bathing in the rain. Yeah. So tell me about what these ducks eat then in relation to the oats that we've just seen in the whole journey. Obviously they're scratching. They can go anywhere they like. So they can get worms. They can get anything.
They've eaten all this vegetation down.
Yes.
We've not mown this at all.
Right.
We're going to move the ducks out of here and put them in a clover field, as in we think there'll be more protein in the clover rather than just kind of weedy grass. So I thought that they would help clear up. And I mean, look at this. I mean, lawnmowers.
Gosh, they are, aren't they?
Fertilising. Yes. I mean, the amount of poo.
So this was all kind of overgrown like that. Yeah. And then they've just completely.
Yeah.
So they're getting.
Whatever
grass, nutrients from
bugs,
grass, everything that they find in there, insects, worms.
Yeah.
And then do you supplement their feed?
Yes, so we give them feed. We have the oats and peas that we grow on the farm. We don't feed them any soya supplements because it's bad at the minute.
Yes.
So they get a rape meal with some minerals and vitamins supplemented.
It's all local. It's all relatively local anyway, and it's all Scottish and wholesome and delicious, and that's why we get such tasty duck. And I'm definitely going to go on this website and order some.
Well, so the ducks is a strange one because our best customer for the chicken has been asking us to do duck. So we relented and we gave in and we said, okay, we'll do ducks exclusively for you.
Oh, so I can't buy a duck on the website?
I could give you a duck, but I don't have any.
It might poop all over my car. I see. So they're all going to one customer at the moment. Yeah. So that customer followed through on their promise. If you do ducks, we'll buy them.
Yeah. Well, he has to take them all. So the thing with the chickens that we're finding from a business point of view is that we place a chick, as you saw, and in 3 to 4 months I will sell that chick.
Yes.
But I don't have contracts. We only kill chickens on demand. So if somebody orders 20 chickens, we'll kill 20 chickens. I'm not going to speculatively kill chickens.
No.
As the big guys do. So for the chickens, it's a bit of a risk that I've placed chickens and potentially can't sell the chicken.
Yeah.
And then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the restaurant trade, they want a 1.8 kilo chicken. That's what they want.
Okay, yeah.
The butchers want a kind of 2 to 2.4 kilo chicken. And then anything over that is too big, apart from at Christmas.
Yes.
So we need to sell the chickens before they get too big.
Yeah.
They're not fast growing, but we get a mixed flock, so we get cockerels and hens. So the cockerels grow much faster than the hens, so we try and thin them out first. And
yes. When it comes to the chicken and actually the oats as well, you've had a relatively recent foray into dealing with consumers.
Yeah.
Consumers who like to buy organic. What's been your experience of those people? You mentioned that they have been pretty loyal. That they ask lots of questions. Are they really kind of interested and passionate specifically about what you do and why you do it?
I would say the people buying oats direct from us they'll be asking. You can get 3 emails from one customer asking, do you put glyphosate on the oats? Do you do anything like this?
Yes.
Can you tell me, sometimes because we send the oats away for an analysis, for a full spectrum analysis once a year to show that there's no badness in them.
Yeah.
This test costs about £1,000 to analyse the oats. And, a person buying one bag will ask for this, and
demonstrating how their passion for what they're putting in their bodies, I suppose. Yes.
So with regards to the chickens, we don't sell too many direct to customer, and it's mainly through these wholesalers and butchers that we sell them, and the feedback we get is amazing.
And I suppose that's what helps make it all worthwhile, isn't it, really? If you're getting amazing feedback on what you're producing, makes you want to get up out of bed in the morning and do what you do, I suppose.
Yes, exactly.
So where are we off to now?
So I'm going to show you the bigger chickens.
Interestingly, we've done quite a few episodes speaking to organic farmers, and not all of them. We spoke to Angus Elder. I don't know if you know him. He's a vegetable grower from East Lothian. They've not all been involved in the decision-making process for organic themselves because it's been something that's been established since the previous generation. But the passion has obviously transferred down the generations. But everybody so far, until I've met you, has said, well, actually, it is kind of driven by the finances, although we're all so passionate about organic. Whereas you flipped it round and said, for me, it's the ethos that kind of keeps it going. And so I'm kind of interested to explore that and why you have that ethos and where you want to take that ethos going forward, because you'll be in charge of this enterprise for decades to come.
I'm absolutely not saying that the finances aren't important, because 100% they are, and farms have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and we feel, as being a farmer who we try and get as close to the final customer as you can. Certainly for the chicken, our problem with chicken, or doing this enterprise, is that people associate you can buy 3 chickens for £10 in the supermarket.
Yes.
And for me, I'll just quickly, really high level numbers, for example, the day-old chick costs me just under £1 to buy. Mm-hmm. It will eat maybe £8, as in pounds monetary, worth of feed in its lifetime.
Yeah.
We estimate it costs us about £3 to process the bird. So that's me up to £12 before I've put any labour, any tractor, any infrastructure, any medication, any vet's bills, anything like that. And
stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really stark.
So when I say we're doing really small scale, and then you have a farm, a couple of miles away that's putting out 250,000 a cycle, and he's making 2p a bird, that's a lot of money,
Yes.
Whereas for me, I need to, what should a farmer be allowed to earn on a chicken? So...
Yeah, well, that's the age-old question, I suppose.
Yeah, if you want a chicken that has lived as a chicken should and tastes as a chicken should,
yes,
we feel that it should
You've got
cost.
to pay for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, exactly, and I think we all make our own decisions, don't we? And they are based on our own personal ethos.
Yeah.
They're based on our personal financial circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's based on what we want.
Yeah.
And I suppose we eat, as consumers, we each make that decision every time we do a food shop, don't we? Whether it's dirty carrots from the farm shop or cheap carrots in a bag. I suppose, every decision is right for that person, but people have got to understand what they're buying and what's behind it before they pass judgment, I
guess. We need to price the chicken in a way that the butcher can get... The butcher needs his margin, 100%.
Yes.
And then the customer is now paying £20 for a chicken.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a customer who could previously buy 3 for a tenner.
Yes, yes.
But these chickens, if you bought this is based on a 2 kilo chicken, that will feed a family of 4 a dinner. It'll have plenty left for sandwiches the next day and make a fantastic stock. So there's
a lot of meals.
3 meals there out of 1 chicken. In my local fish and chip shops, it's £10 now for a fish supper. So
yeah. Well, exactly, and people often don't think of it in that same context.
Yes, so
eating out versus eating quality food at home.
Yeah.
Ah, there they are. There we go. Are they mostly indoors at the moment?
No, because we lock them in every night.
Of course, yes.
Foxes, so.
Well, I was going to ask you about predation, actually. Is it a big issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So constant vigilance.
Yeah, it is. So we kind of, if we step back, they'll come out.
Yeah.
And again, you can see they don't go massively
no,
far.
they have a... Yeah, it's interesting, because I thought that they would be fenced in, but no, they've got like a radius that they're comfortable in.
Yeah. They will wander very far, but you can see predominantly where the birds will be.
Yeah, and they'll come back in at dusk themselves.
Yeah, and we just literally come down and shut the door. As you can see, there's a couple of... They're different, they're just different.
Yes.
They're different sizes.
Brown ones, white ones.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see at the back there's a cockerel who's much bigger than the other hens.
Yeah.
So he'll be probably for the chop on Monday.
Right. You mentioned about the lifestyle, but it's hard work. You've got a lot on your plate here.
It is, yeah, and especially...
Hi, this one's come to say hello, peck our boots. Do you ever hark back to your previous career?
Oh, absolutely.
When you see your friends on Instagram in the Bahamas.
Yeah. I mean, we lived in Dubai, and it's just night and day from this to living out there, and you're so far removed from this sort of thing out there. Food is just on a shelf or on a plate. There's not really any wildlife out there, but it was so clean and polished, and it's just, now you're on a Monday, you're gutting chickens, and Back to the chicken processing from the field on a Friday night. We load the chickens into these modules.
Yes.
And we bring them into this path, which is and it's what we call the waiting room.
Probably more pleasurable than some waiting rooms.
I doubt it.
The door was a bit stuck, but we're in now.
So, for the last night of freedom, the chickens come in.
They go in here, yeah.
So, on a conventional system, the chickens would stay in the crate until they die. So the last 16 hours could be just random. So we bring them in, we let them out. they get water, they don't get food. So we want them to clean their bowels out so that when we process them, there's very little chance of fecal contamination.
I see, yeah.
So this is the waiting room.
Yeah, well, it's just much like the room that they were in when they were little.
Exactly
plenty of water, nice sawdust shavings on the floor and comfortable.
We have lots of boards because it's easier. We just kind of pen them in a corner. You know, we'll pen 10 in a corner, take the 10 out, the others are just scratching about. And, you know, I genuinely don't think they have a clue what's happening. The cockerels are still trying to do boy things with the girl things. And
so they're just living life as normal. So,
sorry, this way.
This way, right.
Yeah, life is normal for a chicken right up until the end. So what happens is, so that's the door that we've just in the shed.
yes.
This door gets swung over there, and these cones get put here, and the chicken gets put into the cone, stunned electrically, and then it's kind of brain dead, and it's bled out from there.
And again, they'll just be none the wiser.
No, not a clue. I genuinely don't think they suffer.
It's a process that if people are going to have them on their plate, it has to happen, and you're doing it in the best possible way.
Yeah. So the chicken goes from here into a scald tank where it's spun in hot water, and that opens its pores, and then it goes into this, and this machine removes all its feathers, and then it looks like a chicken you would get on your plate.
Yes.
Apart from it's still got its head and its feet.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then we eviscerate them here. We then hang them for a couple of hours just to let them relax a wee bit, and then we will take the head and feet off and band them up. And then they get taken into the chiller. And so this is some finished products going out. So these are going into Campbell's Prime Meat. Balmacume Farm Shop, where I think did a
Phil.
He's got a CSA scheme going.
How many would you do in one time, did you say? Like a batch?
So on Monday we did 180 chickens and 20 ducks.
Right, and how long does that take you?
So the chickens we'd done by lunchtime, and the ducks took us the rest of the day. They are really hard to pluck just now, and we just need to find our groove. I mean, when we first started doing chickens, it would take us about 3 hours to do 10 chickens, and now we can do about 40 to 50 an hour. But the really ducks we just need to find our groove.
Well, it's all a learning journey, isn't it? Yeah. So you're very much hoping then, as you've said, that the chicken and the ducks continue to thrive and grow and become an even more key part of the business, and likewise the oats.
Yes. We feel we have a little more capacity in the way we process the oats before we would need to take the next step of investing in some seriously modern kit. If that makes sense.
Yes. And is that not necessarily on the horizon, but is that in your plan?
It was, until the Ukraine war has seriously pushed up the price of cereals, and we just don't know how come harvest, how the price of cereal. We kind of have an idea of how it's going to go, but is that going to push our product out of a lot of people's price range?
Yes.
So,
reflection.
Yeah, it may be. So we've had to unfortunately increase our prices, not by a huge amount, but and 90% of our customers are okay with it. 1 or 2 were like, because they're making for niche granola brands, or that are in, say, Waitrose. We're being told that Waitrose are saying to them, you can't put your price up because nobody will buy your product. We might as well delist it because it's right at the top end of the
threats.
They're squeezing. They've had to squeeze themselves to no margin. Then the granola maker has to squeeze, and then we're obviously at the bottom of the chain, and it's pushed back onto us. They're all, I think everybody's very understanding of it, but it'd be great if the supermarkets could maybe help a wee bit. But I see it from their point of view. They need to have product moving from their shelves.
Yes, and that's the challenge. You can kind of see it from everybody's point of view, can't you? And where's the solution?
Yeah. The oats is, this year is going really well, kind of into the summer lull it's expected, and then the chickens is picking up. So that's us kind of, we killed our first chicken in August last year, so we're kind of seeing the cycle
of
where we're going. So what I wanted to show you was, up until about March, the chickens were in this field here where the chicken houses are.
Oh yes, yeah.
And because we were quite new into this, they didn't work their way right across the field, but you can see exactly where they got to.
You can, can't you?
Yeah, so we've applied nothing to that field.
Wow, you can see a clear line.
Yeah, of where the
chickens were, and therefore
have
fertilising the
and
soil.
Yeah, so much lusher.
And where they weren't.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's a field of just straight oats, and it's.
My husband is an arable farmer, and no wonder he's always so desperate to get hold of hen pen. Here you can actually see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, so we've scraped away the hen pen from where the houses were, and we've done nothing.
And
the hen pen's gone down into a manure pile, and that's just from chickens living on the land. I think because I drive this way every day, I'm like, that's really,
like, wow.
Really that's one of a huge benefit of having poultry as well as they're. And
again, you are the custodian of this farm for the next however many years, and so it must actually make you feel good as well about what's going back in. Your organic farming system is delivering a visible benefit back into the soil, and that's got to be a feel good factor as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so when we were doing a lot of chickens, you could cover the farm. Or you could cover the fields that needed to be covered in a period that would, and you could visibly see in a combine. You could see where the actual house was, and it'd be 6 inches taller. Though it's just for that one. Rectangle. So hopefully we'll get back to that because having no livestock. I mean, so there was cattle on the other half of the field, and there was maybe only 20 cows in there, but. The difference between having cattle and chickens is night and day. There was an electric fence down the middle of it.
And it's great to see that stark difference. I wish sometimes that we were TV and not a podcast, but you can see a line and you can see lush and less lush, basically.
Yeah,
and that kind of helps to summarise it, I suppose. But how would you describe, if somebody said to you, as an organic farmer, what is it that makes you get out of bed every day, and what makes you stay here as opposed to running back to Dubai? Because I was in Dubai in November and it's tempting. What is it that makes you stick around and do this for a living?
For me, what gets me excited is, it's really sad, but is orders coming in, product going out, the farm being efficient, the farm producing what we need it to produce. We're supporting 4 or 5 other organic farmers for them growing oats for us and putting a really good quality product out into the marketplace that our customers, we had one customer, we put the price up, she said, it doesn't matter that, our brand is built around your oats,
yes.
And, things like that is
happy
really nice.
Happy customers, that must make everybody happy if that's what they've got.
I mean, don't get me wrong, when the weather's miserable, farming can be miserable, but it's definitely an office day when the weather's rubbish, but it is. It's seeing everything work. I like efficiency, seeing everything work efficiently, and people being happy with the products that we're producing. But time will tell. I feel this is going to be an interesting 18 months.
Interesting journey. Yeah. Yes, and SOPA. SOPA have obviously know about your business. They suggested I come and chat to you. Are they critical to your journey in terms of support that you can get from them, or not just them specifically, but other organic farmers and the whole kind of community? Is that important to keep you doing what you do?
So SOPA have been good in our starting up of doing the poultry again. They audited us previously on when we did poultry, and they came back and came with an open mind, and we explained what we were going to do. Things like grants and aid and stuff. It's great to get that, but I still feel we have to be a business, and it has to survive without aid and financial systems in place. But you do need help, otherwise things just wouldn't get off the ground. So, and you're still
on that journey. So I probably will make good on my threat and come back in a few years' time, because it's a really interesting journey to follow. So
So we will see.
Thank you.
But no, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been brilliant, and I appreciate your time. Huge thanks again to Michael Medlock of Mains of Hawkerston Farm near Laurencekirk in Aberdeenshire. And thank you also to SOPA for supporting this episode. SOPA have worked really closely with Michael, particularly in relation to his duck and chicken enterprise. So I'm really excited. I I threatened that I'd go back in 5 years' time and see how his journey is unfolding. So I'm really excited to do that. In the next couple of weeks, you'll hear the other episode from my amazing road trip. The weather was just out of this world, and I even managed a quick sea swim at Rattray Point, way up in the north of Aberdeenshire above Peterhead. So you'll hear the results of that chat that I had on the stunning Rattray estate up there in a couple of weeks' time. Meantime, though, I'll finish with the usual reminder. On Farm is made by our team here at Scene&HerdPR and Marketing, so please do come and speak to us anytime about any aspect of PR, communication and marketing on your farm, foodie or rural business. So that's it for now. We will see you next time, and meantime, I hope the sun is shining wherever you are.